So, you're aiming for a career in Indian academia? Then you've definitely heard about the UGC NET exam. It's a huge step, and let's be honest, the whole process can look pretty intimidating from the outside. But that's exactly why we're here. In this explainer, we're going to break down the entire journey, from application all the way to results, so you know exactly what's coming. Let's dive in.
Think of this exam as the main gateway to becoming a professor or getting that funded research position in India. It's a challenge, for sure, but it's not a mystery. It's a journey, but one with really clear checkpoints. And today, well, consider this your official roadmap.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll cover what the NET exam actually is. Then we'll walk through exactly who's eligible to take it. After that, how to actually apply, what to expect on the big day, and finally, we'll wrap up with a quick checklist of the absolute must-knows.
All right, let's get into Section 1. So what exactly is the UGC NET, and why is it such a big deal? Let's cover the absolute basics.
Okay, so the UGC NET exam basically opens up two big doors. First, if you pass, it makes you eligible to be hired as an assistant professor in any Indian college or university. Second, if you score really well, like in the top percentile, you can qualify for a Junior Research Fellowship, or JRF, and that's a stipend to help fund your Ph.D. research. Pretty cool, right?
Now, the big name you need to know here is the National Testing Agency, or NTA. You see, while the University Grants Commission, the UGC, sets the standards, it's the NTA that actually runs the show. They handle everything from creating the exam to putting out the results.
Okay, this is huge. Before you even think about applying, you have to get past the first gate, eligibility. You gotta know these rules are super strict, there's no wiggle room, so let's make sure you qualify.
So, the biggest thing comes down to your master's degree marks. If you're in the general or EWS category, you need at least 55%. For reserved categories like OBC, SC, and ST, that number drops to 50%. And here's a super important detail. They do not round up. Nope. 54.9% is just that. It's not 55%.
Okay, lean in for this one, because this is a mistake a lot of people make. Your OBC status has to be on the central list for the non-creamy layer. If you're on a state list, but not that central one, you have to apply under the general category. Getting this wrong can get you disqualified later on, so please double-check this.
All right, let's talk about the fees. As you can see, it varies depending on your category. For the general category, it's 1150 rupees. That drops to 600 for OBC and EWS, and it's 325 for SC, ST, and other reserved categories.
All right, so you've double-checked and you're eligible. Awesome. Now for the fun part, tackling the actual online application form. Let's walk through it. The whole thing is really just three main steps. Super simple. First, you register online, which gets you an application number. Second, you fill out the whole form, all your details, qualifications, and you upload your documents. And third, you pay the fee. And just remember, nothing's final until you've paid that fee. When you get to the document upload part, you'll need a few specific things. Your photo, your signature, and if it applies to you, a disability certificate. And you gotta know, the NTA is really picky about the format for the photo and signature, so let's break down those rules right now.
Okay, for your photo, you've got to follow these rules to the letter. It has to be recent, with at least 80% of your face showing and absolutely no mask. It needs to be against a plain white background, has to be a JPEG, and the file size needs to be somewhere between 10 and 200 kilobytes.
And same goes for your signature. Just as important. Obviously, it has to be your own. Make sure it's clear and easy to read. And the file size for this one is much smaller, between 4 and 30 kilobytes, also in JPEG format. You don't want your application rejected for something like a blurry signature.
Okay, you've hit submit on your application. Phew. Now let's jump ahead to the big day, the exam itself, and how they actually figure out the results.
So here's your game plan for exam day. Super simple. Trust me, you want to get to the center a good 2 hours early. It just takes all the stress out of check-in. You absolutely must have a printed copy of your admit card and an original photo ID. And of course, if it applies, don't forget your PWD certificate.
So after all that, what does it actually take to pass? Well, it all boils down to this one single number, 6%. That's right. Only the top 6% of candidates who actually show up and take both papers will qualify. That number alone really tells you how competitive this exam is.
But you might be wondering, wait, what if my exam paper is way harder than someone else's? How is that fair? Well, the NTA has thought of that. They've got this system called score normalization.
They use a fancy statistical method to basically balance out the difficulty levels between different exam papers. It ensures nobody is at a disadvantage just because they got a tougher set of questions.
Okay, we're in the home stretch. Let's do a final checklist of the absolute must-knows, the things you just can't mess up.
Listen up, because this might be the most important thing you hear today. The NTA gives you an admit card before they check if you're eligible. That means it is 100% your responsibility to make sure you qualify. If you take the exam, pass, and then they find out you were ineligible, your result will be canceled.
And speaking of details, every single one matters. Your name, your parents' names, your date of birth, all of it must be entered exactly as it is on your Class 10th certificate. Any little mismatch can create huge headaches for you later on during document verification.
And last but not least, a super simple but really important tip. After you apply, save your application number, the password you made, and save a copy of the final confirmation page. You're going to need all of that to check your results and for pretty much everything else.
And there you have it, the whole UGC NET process, from start to finish. Look, it's a tough exam, no doubt about it. But as you can see now, it's not some big mystery. It's a clear path. With careful preparation and paying attention to these details, this is a challenge you can absolutely conquer. Your academic future is waiting. So the only question left is, are you ready?